Hey everybody, it's Z here from the Plejaren Diaries. That's book 2 right there. Here's book 1. Woo. Yeah, and the third one is on its way, so it won't be long. It's pretty well done. Uh, so, anyways, this is one-on-one, and it's it's like the second one in my series, so it'll be like episode 2, or not episode 2, but part 2. First one I went over just a little bit about, the how this all started and everything, and I wanted to do this little series just to give you kind of the highlights of what why the questions are coming if you haven't read the book or anything, or even if you have, and it's more of my personal description of it. So anyway, I've gotten 3 books done now in 7 months, so it keeps going, it seems like, but as long as people want to hear about it, I guess I'll keep writing about it. So anyway, first part was the very introduction when I first met her, or met the whole family. And this one, well, this is more about where I met the whole family. So what it came to be was I hadn't seen them in a while, and didn't really know if the connection was still there or not or anything. But so I decided to go back, and I was doing my thing down in the Glades, and I went over to the commander, and when I had some time, and I told him I was going to go for a walk. And so he said, that doesn't surprise me at all. So sort of thing. And it's like, a helicopter is only going to go one time, right? And so you'll be stuck here if you're not back in time. And I said, that's okay. I'll find another way home maybe. And he gives me a dirty look, because like we're in the middle of absolutely nowhere. There's nothing I could do to get home other than try a walk, and I don't think I'd make it. So anyway, he says, what do you do out there? And I says, oh, I just go out there to talk to little green men and stuff. And he goes, that wouldn't surprise me. So he thinks I'm kind of crazy, I guess. So, but aren't we all, right? And so anyway, I took off on my hike, and I'm heading down out around, and this time I'm a little curious about what it was, right? And so I go there, and yeah, next day I know I'm at the mound, and the blue light, and I go on board, and they're all standing there in front of me, and Sam Jess sort of has a liking to me, and basically what they explained was that they didn't expect this, and that they're a lab ship, a simple lab ship, and they weren't supposed to connect with us, but through the circumstances of Sam Jess getting out and getting stuck in the mangroves, and how I reacted to her, I guess they really appreciated that, because they saw us as violent or monsters and sort of thing, and then to stay away. And so whatever the circumstances was, they thought I might be a little different somehow. And long story short, they got permission to see me again and see where this went, because we just seem to have this connection, right? And so everybody's kind of leery of me except for Sam Jess, and they wanted to start talking and learning from me about us and me about them. And one of the things was that I was a little restricted in a way, because I don't know these people, right? And I don't know why they want the information from me. And so, I just tell them that. And it was kind of funny because the captain kind of felt like I didn't want to be there or something, or I didn't want to work with them. And because none of them had been trained to work with us from here on Earth. And so, he got up, and I said, like, dude, you're kind of bailing really easy. You give up really too easy. And then we start to have more of a conversation. And I explained to him that, if we do this and all, and we're going to have to get to know each other a lot better. And I said I would consider that like family, and that we should be able to feel free to argue and disagree with certain things. And and I don't want to be offensive. I don't ever want to cause an offense to them, and they felt the same way. And So the captain was a little more intrigued, and he's a little more universal than the rest, I guess. They're all just a bunch of nerds, and except for Sam Jess, because I'd find out later that she was just basically running away. Because of her name and her mother, who her mother was, she was expected to be the same thing, and people see her, as an icon. And so that part would really develop later between me and her, in situations that would come up. But for the most part, she was just away. And so, anyways, before we started all these talks back and forth and such, it was a little difficult because they were learning the language as we spoke, in a sense. And I wish I could do that, because I'm allergic to all languages. I've been in so many countries, and I never seem to be able to get it down. I don't know what it is about me, but I can't. I keep trying, though. So then I decided to introduce like a greeting. And so, I always used Sam Jess as a guinea pig, in a sense, because somehow we had this connection that I knew, and she felt comfortable with me. And so, we did so, and like, it was kind of comical, so she steps forward, to show, and says, "Hi, I'm Sam Jess," and I shake her hand, and say, "I'm Z." And so I make my way to the captain, and so the captain doesn't know what to do, really. He saw us and everything, and so he kind of looks at Sam Jess, and Sam Jess nods her head, and so I grab his hand, and it was really weak, and he didn't know what to do. And so, anyways, I shake his hand, and so then I do it again. So I put my hand out, he grabs my hand and make it firmer, and we actually shake hands. And they all seem to really like that, the connection. At the time, that's what I thought. They just weren't used to, humor. They weren't used to physical contact and things. And so, later that would develop in another way. But so, anyways, I did the handshake and all, and kind of went on my way. And I had told Sam Jess that at another time I would teach hugging, and that was I spoke before I thought, because they seemed to really like the contact and everything, and I didn't know really how that was going to go. Then there was, like, in my life, I've been having visions just before this, which I've had visions before, but nothing to really write home about, so to speak. And I started to have these visions that were just really quick, and like 2 or 3 seconds, and they'd be completely meaningless, at least in my sense, like a wicker rocking chair right in front of a window. Then I saw which I really had to debate on this one, but come to be nothing, was like this old, like when you see those old rug type paintings with a map on it, like from old times. But that didn't mean anything either. I thought it might, and then there would be little quick visions of like a ceiling, with like, it had like different types of decoration on the ceiling and stuff. And it's over and over again. And then I had this one vision years ago. Well, I've had a couple, but one years ago, where it was all like it was in black and white, or not black and white, but black and orange, where you see like a negative. And there was all these people, it looked like from Jesus's time or something, and that becomes significant too later in the second book, I believe it is. But it was about, it looked like a bunch of people from Jesus's time walking down, the zigzag thing down a side of a mountain, right? And the guy in the lead had kind of a robe and a cane and stuff, and I didn't see where that fit on anything, absolutely anything. And but it was very clear. And so the time came when that I had a full-blown vision, and it completely mystified me. And this is what's really funny about it, is because I've always been just really naturally good at interpreting dreams, not in the sake of telling them what it meant or anything, but I could pick out all the symbols within it. It's kind of like in your dreams. Every dream is you. Everybody in your dream is you, right? And so, like, let's say it's somebody famous, like say it was one of the people was George Bush. Well, what you got to do is when you take that information and figure out who is George Bush to you, right? It doesn't really matter who the person is, as long as you understand that you recognize them, and that's what part of the message is that you're getting in your dream. It's how spirit speaks. One way that spirit talks to us, and so every little thing you put it together, and then suddenly, like water, ocean. Okay, ocean is big change. River is smaller change. Pond is really small. That sort of thing. So, anyways, it's always been second nature to me, and it was just natural. And so I have this vision, finally, this real full blown vision where I'm, it's kind of misty out, and it's little gray skies and big trees and a big yard and a big Victorian house, which is really similar to where I grew up, where there's Victorian houses everywhere. And it was sort of the style, I guess, back in the day. Anyways, I go up, and the sidewalk's old and kind of cracked and everything. And then I get to the steps, and this place is like picture perfect, like it was just built. Yet it's from, days gone by. And it's white, and I get to the door, and it has like a screen door on the outside, and it's all brand new, and it's that dark color. And then the door on the inside is one of the real doors, big, thick, and wood, and just perfectly stained and all. And so, anyways, I'm kind of hurrying through it, but you get the idea. I go inside, and there's like, I see this, the wood floors, and then this curved stairway that just went up, right? And curved around. I thought it went to the second floor. And so I go up it, and it's rock solid. I mean, it's absolutely perfect condition and everything. And I take the steps, and I walk all the way up to the top. And when I get to the top, I'm in like a crow's nest. You know how the houses used to have like a little room right at the very top, and they had windows and stuff. I don't know what they used them for. For me, it would be to look at the sky at night and stuff. But anyways, I get up there, and I'm looking around, and there's books and everything on the shelves around, and there's just like a little ledge that goes all the way around it, and it's the shape of an octagon. And I can see outside and everything is still the same. It's kind of misty and gray out. And then on the floor, in the center of the floor, was this little octagon. Like it was like made out of 2x4s, but they weren't 2x4s. Everything in there was very rich, so to speak. And in the center of that was a candle, and it was a tall candle, and it had a big flame on it. And for the life of me, I couldn't put any of it together for myself, and not even the very beginning, which I know by heart. A house in a vision or a dream is always you, right? And I don't know where it came from or where it went, right? Anyway, I'm baffled by this, and there was like I had two big questions in life, and that was one of them. And so I pondered on it for a little while, and then it dawned on me. The guy who knows sacred geometry and all this stuff is the mad scientist. And so thank God I knew him, because I called him up, and he went on. I told him the vision, and really even shorter than this, and he was a bam, bam, bam for like 40 minutes. He nonstop talking, and essentially what it came down to is it was a sign of my completion of this lifetime. Because we have certain things to accomplish when we come here. We choose our parents, we choose everything, right? And the life that we're going to have, and then it fits with the predestined crossings of certain people, and and so on and so forth. And so the everything about that, all the geometry, the curl, like that's like the shell. I don't forget. I think they made the Fibonacci from that. And then the newness of everything. Yeah, and then the age of it. A representative age of it, and how I was walking into this, and then the candle in the middle of the octagon, and he hit every symbol in there and said I had just completed purpose of the things that I intended to do when I came here. And so it just like completely blew me away, and I knew exactly what it was when he explained it to me. So it's always good to have friends, right? Friends that know. And so anyway, um, back to how that relates is I went home and everything, and I was uh, hanging out. I think I was either watching TV or something, and I feel the static, right? So I know what's coming. I know one of them is there, right? And so, you know, just like a small flash, there she was. Sam Jess had come. She go like, "Where you been?" and all this stuff. What's been going on and everything. And uh, so, uh, I was explaining to her I just needed downtime and all that and everything. And so she jumps in the bed. Like I said, that's all I got in my house really. And so we're laying there and we're talking, and so I bring up, a subject, and that was like her name, and I was wanting to know more about where she got the name. And so she explained a little and said about her mother and all of this, and then it got known because of another person who had an experience, um, and basically she didn't want to talk about that at all. And she said, basically she explained to me, I don't know if it was then or a different time, but she said, there was two visits, one to say hi and one to say goodbye, and that was the end of that. And so she was very guarded about that. So all of them were. And so anyways, I started asking her about, you know, um, uh, her memories of her mother, and she says that in their um, their people, when a person dies, their memories and experiences transfer to relatives, so it's always passed down. And that's what she was doing. Sorry about that. That's what she was doing is she escaped, all this the way people were treating her and stuff, like she was royalty or something, and basically got on the slab ship so she could go out, and she felt it could put her in a position to find these memories or these experiences of her mother, because for them, when you actually do what it is that they are um, that they've gained in their life, and they've transferred that memory to you, and then you go out and you have an experience somewhat similar, it activates that memory, and then it becomes a whole thing, like you've been doing it all your life in a sense. That's how you activate each of those memories, or they do. And so, she started talking about these different things and how, you know, she was opening up and all, and then by meeting me was another experience that was stored in her brain from her mother had passed on, and that then she started to learn other things and was being able to apply and put pieces together in her own life. And so uh, I wanted to it was odd. I wanted to ask her something, like I wanted to see her hair and her ear. And I noticed the hair is kind of like monofilament almost, but very fine. You can't really tell until you get right up close to it and look at it, in the light and things. And then I also wanted to look at her ear, and because they were somewhat different than ours, not a lot. You wouldn't notice it per se. I mean, it may be noticeable, but you wouldn't think anything of it. And so they were like ours, but they're thinner and they're longer, right? So they're not pointed, but you could assume, right? And so, anyways, and she seemed to enjoy that, and I felt kind of awkward actually touching her, but because they didn't seem to be real receptive of touching it in the beginning, and then it started to become an addiction to them, to being able to touch or shake hands and things. And so, anyways, we're still talking, and I said I wanted to rest, and so it's like, well, what do you do here? I got this beautiful woman, and she's here. And, I wasn't thinking in that direction, but at the same time, it's like, that's kind of a hint to go, right? And so she wasn't saying anything or anything about it. It was like she's there to stay. And so anyway, I go, okay, well, this is your side, this is my side. And so and it was like, okay. And so clothes and all, I just jumped in bed and I went to sleep. And when I woke up, she was sitting like in lotus position with her back to me, facing out the patio door, looking at outside. And so, I let her know that I was awake and everything. And she turned around, she smiled and everything. And that's where we got into a conversation about sleep, because, how we sleep and all. And, I'm normally like 6 hours or whatever. And then she said, well, they don't need that. And so a few times a day that will, in what would be a 24-hour period, she sits there and it's kind of like meditating, but she just empties herself and clears things. So I'd call it meditation, I guess. And for about 15 minutes or so, or 30 minutes at the longest. And they're good to go. So they never actually just sleep. And so anyways, we started talking a little bit more, and I asked her, more about the memory thing and about my life, and then what the other question that I had, big question in my life that got answered by her, was I was telling her, how radical my life had been in comparison to other people, and how I just kept moving in a sense. I get all this education and stuff and then never really use it, so to speak. And I didn't go, I didn't follow any career paths or anything. I thought I might be as I would do certain things. I ended up doing so many different things. It's hard to even understand. Yeah, I know I don't even understand how that happened, but to me, I use the excuse circumstance, right? No work, I had to go somewhere else, or whatever the certain thing would be, and I didn't want to live in Ohio because it's just too cold. I hated the cold, and so I've had all these different experiences with all these different people, and she hits me right on the forehead, like, duh, it's the same thing. She's retrieving her memories through this process, of re-experiencing certain things. And it was like, oh my God, it's like the old commercial, I could have had a V8 sort of thing. And it was like, it fit the narrative absolutely perfect. And so anyways, that really, changed me in a lot of ways. And so I began to understand. And then, I had made the promise to teach them hugging, and it's never been a thing for me, until one day, this guy, a really close friend of mine, hugged me, and I felt like stiff. It's a guy, right? If it was a girl, that's one thing, but it was a guy, and I wasn't comfortable at that point in doing that, but it became the norm in a sense in our, from the time I was growing up to, when I was like 40 and stuff, people started to do that on a regular basis, and I gotten more comfortable with it, but I'm no expert. But so anyways, I go back to the ship one day, and Sam Jessen, the captain, are there to greet me, and of course, he has his hand out now every time, to shake hands, and really likes that. And so I shook his hand and stuff. And then Sam just took me away. And these people are just so different. But like, I hardly know this girl. She grabs me by the hand, just takes me away. And so as we're going, she stops and she goes, "You're going to teach us hugging, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And I could hear the others going into what I call the living room. I basically call the spaceship an RV because it's the way it's laid out and everything. But anyway, I said, "Yeah." And I go, "Do you want to learn?" And she said, "Yes." And so I had to be very careful because, they don't know me that well yet. They're getting to know me, and, everything's going good and everything, but I didn't want to be rude or any way that I wouldn't understand from her. So I explained to her what I was going to do, right? we was gonna, embrace, and then we slightly, put pressure on her hug, and then, but I told her right up front, and I said, if this makes you uncomfortable, we don't have to do that or anything. And she was into it, but she was also like, she didn't know what was going to happen, and she was trying to figure it out before it happened and all. And so, anyways, I bring her in close to me, and she has no idea. Um, she's I think she's a little bit in shock when I grabbed her and pulled her into me, and then um, we break apart. She goes, "Did I do it?" And I said, "Well, sort of." And I said, "Do you remember when you were hurt down, in the swamp, and I picked you up and you put your arms around me to help me carry you and all?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "It's more like that." And so I said, "Let's do it again." And so before she had a chance to think, I had grabbed her arms and pulled her into me, and then and put my arms around her and told her to wrap her arms around me, and we hugged, and I could tell her loosening up. She wasn't stone anymore, and she laid her head on my chest. And then, it was about 2 minutes or so, and I was letting go of her, kind of giving her a message, and she was still holding pretty tight. And then finally she breaks loose, and she goes, "I like that." And so um, she kind of mastered it already. And so when we go out into the living room and everybody else is there, and she's just all excited, and she starts, talking to her, I call it cackling, to the other girls. And again, another representative that they're so much like us. Um, and the captain's like, "So, you know, shut up, guys, and sit down, because we're going to have this talk, right?" And he goes, "What, Sam Jess, are you talking about?" And so she tells him, "Oh, he said he was going to teach us a hug, and he taught me how to hug." And so it's like she makes everybody get up, or the girls get up, and we do it again, and in front of them, and they're like confused, and they're like, they don't quite understand, and they're looking, and the one I call Snake Lady, the one who likes to smell and moves her body like this a lot, she was doing that look, right? And checking it out. And then I tell Sam Jess, because of the way they didn't seem real comfortable, I said, "You hug one of them or both of them and show them how it's done, and then they can hug me." And so she does it, and one of the ladies is named Laura, or I named her Laura, uh, and she didn't seem real comfortable with it, but she wasn't allergic to it either. And then she hugged Snake Lady, and Snake Lady was like a rock, and she was like growing into it, so to speak. And so then it was my turn, and so I grabbed Sam Jess again. I hug her, and then I hug Laura, and Laura was okay with it. Uh, but I think she was really shy in a sense. And like I said, I learned that these people are all nerds in comparison to the other people from their world. And so anyway, then it was Snake Lady's turn, and she kind of scares me, right? And and both of them are taller than me, and so I grab her, and she grabs me really hard like that, and so then I squeeze her a little bit, and she squeezes a little bit, and then I can feel her like smelling my neck and stuff like that, and then she gets more comfortable, and I start to break away, and she doesn't want to let go, and she wants to keep doing it, so she pulls me in tighter, and so she's sort of figured it out, and then later, in another time that I was there and stuff, the handshakes with the guys and the hugs from the girls, and it kept evolving where they just are addicted to it. And I got to the point where, at first, I get there and I spend half my day just making sure everybody had a hug. And because when they embrace you, they just hold on to you, and it's just, you feel so good. And you know 10 minutes or 15 minutes in a hug, it's like, holy cow. And then I finally just sort of gave into it, where you know their eyes too, their eyes are hypnotizing. They're so big, and the centers, they're like ours, but in the centers, it's a blue, but it's almost like there's gold flakes that float inside. And so anytime I look at their eyes at this time, it would always distract me. And so, I mean, it just takes you to another place, but it's very good. And so I started to get used to the hugs that they give, and now it's just a thing, because it just really feels good. And I've never really had that experience until I met them, and they were new to them. So anyway, it's different. So as I'm going, like I said, I'm kind of explaining different parts of the book. Um, they're learning the language at this time, and we're starting to communicate better. I introduced showing them videos and stuff of movies, like family LPG sort of things, because we're monsters and sort of thing. And so that when I would have another conversation with them, where we would be discussing different things, then it would become much easier, because they already had their questions then would be more direct, and that I could, and we didn't spend so many, we didn't spend 16 hours, talking about a guy without a shirt, right? Because they see it from so many different directions. So by seeing the movies, it helped us immensely. And this whole time, I'm asking them things about, can I write this? Because my friends are asking me questions, and can I just like kind of write this stuff down, and they were like, not sure and stuff. And I said, look, you can look at them and everything else. And, if there's something you don't want me to tell, I won't. And so, that's the kind of way we worked it. And it really changes as these 7 months went by, which will be in my other book. So anyways, I got the first two, and the third one's on its way. So I think there was anything else I wanted to tell you guys. Well, feel free to ask questions in the comments and stuff. I try to get to all of them, and it's starting to become overwhelming. But at that point, what I'll do is I'll just do a video answering those questions, because there's a lot of really good questions in there. I'm really surprised. I'm so blessed to have such great people watch. So, but anyway, I think that's a wrap for this one, and hope you enjoyed it and you understand a little bit more. In the next ones, I'll take you through several different things that I've learned in this short period of time, and about energy, how to use energy, and how, it's so many little things, how they grow plants, and going to the mall, and which was great. And there's Halloween, and there's their planet. And meeting other types of aliens, so to speak, and all that. So anyways, I'm rambling. Check out endingchildsexslavery.org. It's my passion here on earth. So anyway, thank you. Bye. Or should I say, live long and prosper.